So, Wade, why don't you take it away with pick number 16? Let's go ahead and finish off this mock draft. Who do you have the Seattle Seahawks taking at 16?
Yeah, the Seahawks are an interesting group because I feel like they've got a lot of young talent, but I think that they might still be a few years from contending. So I think they just need to take some of the best young available talent. I wouldn't worry about pigeonholing a specific position. If one of the quarterbacks falls to them, maybe they want to find Geno's heir apparent. Michael Penix and Bo Nix are some regional selections that would make a lot of sense, but I think they wait on a QB. It's a good quarterback draft class. I think they get some offensive line help. So let's take a peek over there. Who our best available offensive lineman is, and it's Mr. Fashanu from Penn State. I mean, for him to be at 15 is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's a great pickup. I think that he's got a top 10 talent. Like we mentioned last week, Joe Alt, it feels like he's the quote unquote number one offensive tackle going to be off the board. You got Fuaga. He's starting to get some real buzz. Maybe he gets into the top 15, but we see Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State, go on the board at number pick 16. Get some offensive tackle help for Geno Smith. So now let's go on to a team to the Jacksonville Jaguars. No more Calvin Ridley. Maybe they can go after another wide receiver. Real look at the wide receiver boards. You got Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy. He ran a 4.22, so that alone can boost him up into round number one. But this is a team that needs a lot of help, especially at the quarterback position. We saw Terrion Arnold go at pick number 15 to the Colts. I think that we get another cornerback here with Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. So get another cornerback here off the board. Now let's go to a team that we're quite familiar with the Cincinnati Bengals. Do they get more offensive help? Do they go on the defensive side?
I think this team looks to defense. They once again spent some money on that offensive line, and all the big prospects are gone. So I think they look to help that secondary. They lost Aduzier in free agency. I think he went to the Ravens or maybe the Steelers. So they lost some talent right there, and then they lost some defensive line talent. So I think they'll definitely vet Byron Murphy because he's the most talented player available. But maybe he is got some red flags. So let's take a look at the corners, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Oh, I think they go Nate Wiggins here for sure.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins definitely has the package deal for them. So he heads over to the Bengals. So now let's go on to the Los Angeles Rams. I think that this is going to be a defense here. They could surprise you, go for quarterback either with Penix or Bo Nix, but I just don't really see with them. They do need some help on the edge. They could go with Chop Robinson. Makes a lot of sense for them. Could go Cooper DeJean to get some cornerback help. They definitely need it. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean. They definitely need some quarterback help. It's been 2 years ago since we saw Jalen Ramsey on this squad. So this is a team that really needs a lot of defensive help. They got a lot of offensive firepower. Matthew Stafford leading the way. We saw Cooper Kupp and then Puka Nacua step onto the scene during his rookie season. So they definitely need some defensive help they were a playoff team this year. So if they get another key corner, go with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. So now let's go on into the 20s with Pittsburgh. So do you have the Steelers? No more Kenny Pickett. So maybe they get another quarterback here. What you got with Pittsburgh?
I think they're set at QB after the Justin Fields experiment, taking a flyer on him. So I think they look at wide receiver. I don't buy the news that George Pickens is wide receiver one. I mean, he will be by default, but there's too much talent in this draft at receiver, especially what's left on the board for them to pass up on it. They could go with the absolute burner and Xavier Worthy or Mitchell. And then I think Chet took Brian Thomas off the board for the Saints, but he's another guy that could be here for this pick. I'm going to give him the burner and Worthy. I think that complements the size of George Pickens quite well and gives them somebody that can really stretch the field. If they want to get the best out of Russell Wilson, that's what they need to do.
So we got the Speedster going to Pittsburgh, and now we have the Miami Dolphins. Their top three needs are D line, offensive tackle, wide receiver. This could be another team that with wide receiver, but you already got Jalen Waddle, already got Tyreek Hill. I think it's either D line or offensive tackle. So you really look at the D line. You got Murphy. I don't think we get to Fisk here in round number one, and then you got Fuaga. I definitely think you need some help, especially on the offensive line to protect Tua. So I think that they get a protector with Tua out of Oregon State. Give me Talise Fuaga heading on to Miami. So now let's go on to the Eagles. This might be a team that'd be looking at defense here. So who do you have the Eagles taking at number 22?
Yeah, I think they want to look at an edge. They just lost Hashan Reddick in free agency. So you got an in-state guy there in Robinson. But the Eagles also had a lot of success last year, taking Jalen Carter, who had some troubles, probably worse than the troubles Murphy had. So I think they have another blue chip defensive lineman fall in their hands. Give me Byron Murphy from Texas.
Golly, that would definitely be the steal of the draft. So yeah, they're just piling on the big boys up front on their defensive line. So that'd be a great pick by the Eagles. Once again, we see the Minnesota Vikings on the clock. They already had pick number 11. We had them selecting J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. I think that they're just getting like more and more hype of McCarthy's going in the first round. So they already got their quarterback, and now they can either go, with one of the top offensive linemen or go with one of the top D lines. But all the really D linemen are off the board. So I think that they continue on the offense, get a pass protector for J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to go with J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. I think that would be a fantastic pick there. You get your quarterback of the future and get somebody who can protect him in the future. So now let's go on to the Dallas Cowboys. No more Tony Pollard. Maybe they go with a running back here. I don't think so. Maybe not in the first round here. There's not really many running backs you see there. Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson are your top two. That's more day two guys. So who do you have Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys selected at number 24?
Yeah, I think this team probably needs some help at linebacker. Leighton Vander Esch just retired. Micah Parsons doesn't play, coverage linebacker. He's an edge. So the difficult thing is they loop in our edge rushers and our linebackers. So I know Cooper is an edge rusher. I'm not sure about Wilson, though. Let's take a look at offensive tackle, too. That's one of their other needs. I don't know. Do you think that – the Cowboys always have a standout offensive line. Do you think they just tack onto it, or is there something else popping out to you?
Yeah, the thing about Dallas, they got a lot of old guys on the offensive line, and a lot of them went down with injury this season. So they definitely need some young flavor in this one. They could go with another wide receiver. Maybe you get like A.D. Mitchell here, Latin McConkey. Can never have too many wide receivers. Lamb's going to be your wide receiver one. We saw the tight end step up with Jake Ferguson, but really outside of that, you didn't really see a wide receiver step up. Brandon Cooks, he had some spots there. So I think that Dallas could go really any way with this pick.
Yeah, I think one of the flashy receivers would appeal to them. If Worthy is there, I think he goes here, but we did have him go to Pittsburgh. I'll give him the best available offensive tackle, Troy Fontenot there from Washington.
All right, so we got another offensive tackle off the board, this time going to Dallas. Now let's go on to the Green Bay Packers. This could definitely be a team, could either go on the interior offensive lineman, could go Graham Barton there. But I think that this just screams a quarterback here, and a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry is still available here. This is a slam dunk pick for Green Bay. So I think that they're fine on offense. I think that they got a lot of young, talented wide receivers, and now they, you got one of the most talented quarterbacks on the other side, and you can pair him up with Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. So I think that would definitely be a good pick there. Jair Alexander is who I was thinking of. So you got Jair Alexander on one side, put McKinstry. That would definitely be a scary secondary building out there in Green Bay. Now let's go on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fresh off of NFC South title. Where do you see Tampa Bay going here at pick number 26?
Well, the wide receiver talent is a little depleted at this point. You could look at Adonai Mitchell here, But I think that they're going to go defensive line. Shaquille Barrett just left, edge rather, not necessarily interior. And I think this is a good value pick here with Robinson from Penn State. I mean, he's a guy that we saw maybe as a top 15 guy, and here he is at in the 20s. So I like Robinson here to Tampa.
There we go. Chop Robinson heads down there to Tampa Bay. Now we have the Arizona Cardinals. They already selected Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State at pick number 4. They're back again on the clock here with number 27. So I think that, this is either an edge rusher here or interior offensive lineman. You got Darius Robinson, could be in play. But I think that this is a team that also needs help with the offensive line. So I'm going to go with a Duke player here. You don't really see many Duke players going in round number 1. Daniel Jones was probably the last one that you saw, but I'm going to go Graham Barton, interior offensive lineman out of Duke. He heads out west and heads on to the Arizona Cardinals. The Buffalo Bills, no more Gabe Davis. Do we see the heir apparent of Gabe Davis here at 28?
Yeah, absolutely. They lost their top 2 receivers, so I think they'll be pressed to take one. I'll give him Adonai Mitchell here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Troy Franklin makes his way up the draft board. Some teams might have a preference for him.
Yeah, no more Diggs or Davis, and they get Adonai Mitchell there at pick number 28. Now let's go on to the Detroit Lions, a team that just made it all the way to the NFC Championship game before getting bounced by the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team I think that could go plenty of ways up with this. This is definitely a lot of a young, talented team, both on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. So you really look at the available cornerbacks. You got Rick Straw Jr., you got Mike Sandstrill. I think that Sandstrill out of Michigan could definitely make some noise there. And you got D-line, it's going to be Fisk. So I don't really – you got Jackson Powers Johnson there. Maybe you could get another valuable offensive lineman there. I think that's exactly what they do there. So give me Jackson Powers Johnson and down there to Detroit, getting another pass protector for Jared Goff. Now let's go on back to the AFC side with the Baltimore Ravens here at pick number 30. Who do you have Baltimore selecting at 30?
And Baltimore's very upset because that's who they were eyeing for Lamar. But maybe they need more offensive tackle talent. So Mims from Georgia is a good fit.
There we go. Another Georgia dog off the board with Marius Mims.
Can't go wrong with getting a big guy from Georgia.
Well, San Francisco also might be pissed because they also wanted offensive tackle, but you still got Tyler Guyton there. They could go with a wide receiver, Ladd McConkey, and I think that's a great pick there at pick number 31, Ladd McConkey. I think that Kansas City probably is eyeing him. So, San Francisco is like, ain't no way that you're getting another talented wide receiver on that team. So I'm going to give San Francisco, really, they just sniped Kansas City for this pick. Go with Ladd McConkey there. So give me another Georgia. So we got 2 back-to-back Georgia Bulldogs going off the board. Now let's go to the defending Super Bowl champs. Where do you have Kansas City here? You think that they go with a wide receiver, or do you think that they go with another cornerback here?
If that sequence right there happens, they might trade out entirely. Seeing their guy go. And I like your pick there for McConkey because Brandon Ayuk could be on the move on draft night. That's been rumored. Maybe to Buffalo or something.
Maybe to Kansas City.
Let's take a look at the corners.
All right.
This team might go with the local product here and Rakestraw from Missouri. I don't know if they're going to love Troy Franklin enough to pick him here. I mean, I don't see what's really different in him and Rashee Rice or Sky Moore, some of these guys we got on the team. So I think they go ahead and grab the corner there.
There we go. The hometown boy gets to stay home and potentially win another Super Bowl.